in the name of gathering intelligence. I think actually in the UK they passed a law recently where intelligence agents or assets can even commit murder or any sort of crime as long as they justify it as intelligence gathering activity. So, this is something that gets brushed under the rug because there's no accountability for U.S. intelligence services at all. And in addition to that, I mean, you have things like the Page Boy scandal in 1982 that was brushed under the rug, where congressmen were caught basically engaging in sex with congressional pages who were underage.
Really? I forgot. I had this. It was in 1982.
Yep. And then you have the Franklin scandal. The expert on that is Nick Bryant, who, if you want to learn more about that, I would encourage you to have him on your show.
What is it?
But that was basically about Republican. It was a lobbyist that was running it in Washington named Craig Spence, nominally a lobbyist who claimed to have CIA connections. His partner was a guy named Larry King, based in Nebraska. Larry King would get kids from Nebraska, fly them out to D.C., and they would basically be raped and assaulted by powerful people. And it's a very crazy story. And again, I'm not the expert in that. I do include it in the book, of course, because it's very relevant. But of course, I'm drawing a lot from Bryant's work on that.
We covered the Jerry Sandusky situation. Now, he was the guy from Penn State who was sexually abusing the students constantly, and that through that story, I learned that there are networks of these pedophiles, and they have conventions almost, right? And that Jerry Sandusky would take their boys to be trafficked there to trade them and stuff like that. And
yeah, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't Louis Freeh, the former FBI director, involved in some aspect of covering up Sandusky's activities? Because he was also later hired by associates of Jeffrey Epstein to intimidate his victims from speaking out.
Really? No kidding. So let's move
He
on.
was Clinton's FBI director.
Yeah, and then of course, Bill Clinton's on the Jeffrey Epstein flight logs 27 times, even though he said it was only 4. Right? Wasn't it 27 he showed up, or 32?
It's something like that. Well, some of them are multiple trips. So they show up on the flight logs multiple times because he was, for example, going on this big trip around Africa. And so there were multiple flights within that one broader trip, right? So sometimes it sounds kind of misleading, to say 27 because they were, part of the same long journey around different countries in Africa, but it was a significant amount of times. And I don't think Bill Clinton is telling the truth about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein at all. Actually, at that point in time, Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Clinton had known each other for about a decade or so, which mainstream media seems uninclined and not interested in talking about at all. And Epstein was actually helping him set up the Clinton Foundation and the Clinton Health Access Initiative. And this is after more than a decade of Jeffrey Epstein being involved in the most controversial fundraisers in Clinton presidential history. Right after, and he began his involvement with Clinton fundraising right after his name was dropped from the case where he was named the mastermind of one of the biggest Ponzi schemes in U.S. history. So he basically goes from being one of a notorious financial criminal to becoming, a financial wizard for the Clinton family. And so that's why he was probably picked to set up what a lot of people refer to as the family's political slush fund, the Clinton Foundation.